God's call to Abraham to leave his homeland has profound spiritual significance and historical purpose. This call not only transformed Abraham's life, but also marked the beginning of God's plan of redemption for humanity. Let us explore the reasons behind this pivotal event in biblical history. 1. Preparing to establish a people belonging to God. Abraham's homeland, Ur, was a place dominated by idol worship, with values and lifestyles far removed from God's will. God called Abraham to leave this environment to separate him from this culture and begin forming a people dedicated to God. This people would eventually become Israel, through whom God's laws and plan of salvation would be revealed. God said to Abraham, "Go from your country, your people and your father's household to the land I will show you." Genesis 12:1. This indicates that God's call was to bring Abraham into a new environment and to start a journey of walking closely with him. 2. Fulfilling God's plan of redemption. God's call was not merely for Abraham's personal blessing but to make him a channel of blessing for all nations. God's promises to Abraham included making him into a great nation, making his name great, blessing all peoples on earth through him. Genesis 12:2-3. This promise ultimately found fulfillment in Jesus Christ, a descendant of Abraham, whose salvation brought true blessings to humanity. Thus, God's call was not just a geographical relocation, but a placement of Abraham at the heart of his eternal plan. 3. Testing and strengthening Abraham's faith. God's call was also a test of Abraham's faith. He didn't reveal the exact destination, only saying, "To the land I will show you." This required Abraham to rely entirely on God's guidance and act in faith. To Bible records, "So Abram went, as the Lord had told him." Genesis 12:4. Abraham's obedience demonstrated his trust in God, which became the foundation for him being known as the father of faith. This faith became a model for all believers to follow. 4. Setting an example of being set apart. God called Abraham to leave his familiar environment to live a life set apart for him. This life reflects the qualities of God's people. They do not belong to the world but to God's kingdom. Abraham lived as a sojourner in the land of Canaan, signifying his hope for a better homeland prepared by God. See Hebrews 11:8-10. 5. Foreshadowing the spiritual journey of Christians. Abraham's departure and journey also foreshadow the spiritual journey of every Christian. We are called by God to leave behind our old way of life and enter into his kingdom, living a new life of walking with God. Just as Abraham had to leave the comfort and security of his homeland, we too must relinquish worldly dependencies and place our trust solely in God's guidance. Conclusion. God's call for Abraham to leave his homeland demonstrates his intentional and redemptive plan for humanity. He chose Abraham to become a channel of blessing, tested his faith, and set an example of living a life set apart for God. For us today, Abraham's story serves as a reminder that God's call often requires us to let go of our immediate comfort and step into the unknown in faith. However, the end of this path always leads to God's promises and blessings.